Hi, you're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 77. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
And I'm Spencer Valadez.
Yay! Hey, Spencer did such a great job of filling in for Jeff. I decided, hey, let's keep him in circulation because I like to do 2 shows a week if I can, and I forgot how much I enjoyed doing the show with him before in days of yore. So yay! So our first book that we've got to talk about today is Daredevil number 84. And the story is called Night of the Assassin, written by Jerry Conway, with art by Gene Colan and Sid Shores.
Yeah. So in this, it's right after...
couple issue gap between that last issue we talked about. But
So Foggy put Natasha, the Black Widow, on trial.
Right.
And Matt Murdock ended up being her attorney.
Yeah.
And he gets her off, and she leaves the country.
And he helps her out in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she takes off to Switzerland just to kind of clear her mind and stuff.
That's what I always do.
Right, yeah. And she's approached by a former Soviet like herself.
Yeah.
And wants to meet her and all that. It turns out he's an android.
Sent by Mr. Klein, right?
Right. It seemed like it might have been sent back in time, maybe?
No, I don't think time travel is part of this.
Maybe I just read it weird.
Maybe I'm quite crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, it was cool. I'm always down for a little Black Widow. There was a very scandalous scene in.
She's brushing her hair. She's got a kind of Lady Godiva thing.
Yeah, kind of a little nude and
a little risque, but hey, whatever. The hair is going there.
Yeah, great.
And it was beautifully rendered by a gentleman, Gene Colan, who I just love, and he is definitely he is the one for as far as Daredevil artists are concerned. So, yeah.
So I enjoyed it a lot.
Was there anything else that really happened? What happened? What did Daredevil do in this story?
Oh, right. He ends up coming to
Switzerland. That's right.
Switzerland.
Natasha calls for him, like, "Can you help me?
Right.
Get over here."
Yeah, I actually didn't write any of this down. She calls him. He comes to her, beckoning, and they end up having to fight the android.
Yeah.
And he saves her life again.
Yeah.
Outside of the courtroom. And he kind of lets himself fall into her arm. He lets them form kind of a relationship.
Right.
They start doing the little kissing and nuzzling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's letting himself take a risk that he's not been able to let him take a risk with, like Karen Page.
Right. And we learned that in previous issues in this story, Daredevil had fought the Scorpion and Mr. Hyde and some other guys. Right. They weren't the real versions. They were android duplicates.
Right. Yeah.
So, weird.
Yeah.
But, pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
So, one thing I noticed about kind of these Silver Age books...
Is this Silver Age?
Is it? I'm not sure.
This is 72, so Bronze Age.
Okay. So something I noticed in these books is that there's a lot of narrative.
Yeah.
And a lot of kind of personal thought.
Yeah.
And
exposition, stuff like that.
Yeah. And if you kind of look at modern books, they kind of they don't really have the same kind of narration that older books do. They don't have to go back and say, "Oh, this happened here, this happened here, and this happened here."
Right.
This is where we are in time. I mean, it might give you like a date, time,
right?
Kind of like a timestamp.
A little bit of old comics. Generally, if it's an ongoing narrative, there will be a flashback scene to kind of help somewhere early on in the issue to help you kind of catch up to what had gone before, which is not something we see present in.
Right.
And I think we see a lot more narrative captions, like your inner monologue in current comics, that have taken the place of thought bubbles. Though they're kind of gone to the wayside. And I like thought bubbles.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I like the narration caps. It works fine, but I think it's easier to like, oh, that's not the narrator, that's our character thinking about stuff. If you do go thought balloons, what's wrong with that?
Right.
You know?
So my thought with thought balloons is that why can't that be turned into dialogue rather than just something that they're...
Do you monologue to yourself?
I don't really monologue to myself. I think about things, but
Okay.
I don't pour over my feelings in my
Yeah.
mind when you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah. Well, some things it's like, and sometimes you're interacting with other characters. It's nice to have them like thinking about like, man, what an a-hole or something.
right? Yeah, yeah.
And you don't want to
But-
just say everything you're thinking.
right. But it seemed like a couple times in this Daredevil book, they would do the narration, and then they would recap the narration in the thought bubble, and I felt like it was redundant.
Is it redundant, or hitting a point home with reiteration? I mean, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just asking.
Right. For me, it seemed redundant.
Okay.
It seemed like, okay, I get where Daredevil's coming from here.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he have to tell me again?
Okay, that's
You
a
know,
good point.
and
I mean,
feel
I
like-
didn't notice that,
Okay.
but I mean, I don't know.
I
don't know if
feel
I have
like
an
it's-
answer to that.
I feel like it's kind of, I think it's kind of the theme throughout this time period of comics.
Okay.
Is that they spend a lot of time describing what's going on
Mm-hmm.
when they could be doing more dialogue and more character development.
I mean, and then that's going to be, up to the writer. I mean, and I think Jerry Conway is like, well, dialogue, hey, cool.
Right.
But I've got all these things too. But also, the Marvel style of scripting
Mm-hmm.
is usually you just come up with a plot, and then the artist illustrates that, and then the dialogue and stuff are written later.
Okay.
So, if, say,
That seems a little backwards to me, but
the Marvel style is not everybody likes to do it. I mean, DC is they write full script, and you can kind of tell the difference. I prefer full script, even though I also like Marvel Comics.
right.
But I mean, it's a method that has worked.
Mm-hmm.
But
They've been around for what?
right. But I wonder if Jerry Conway maybe wrote it full script, and then it was illustrated, and then was sort of like, hey, it's just a little light on the dialogue.
Right.
Add more. Well, we don't know.
Right.
So that could also be the case.
Totally.
So
So another kind of thing I noticed in my notes, it says radar versus psychic ability. We discussed this a little bit prior to the show.
yeah.
It seems like on top of all the extraordinary abilities that Daredevil has, once in a while it seems like he's slipping into like, oh, also I have a little bit of mind reading capability.
Right.
We know that he can kind of feel the heartbeat of someone when
And know if they're lying or
know if
not.
they're lying or something like that. But it seemed like once in a while, it slipped into, oh, I can also feel that he's a villain. Like when
Yeah.
he was talking. Oh, this is a later issue, but
Yeah.
when he's talking to the owl,
Right.
with the owl.
Yeah, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But I think you listen to someone, you tell the intonation of their voice.
Right.
If you're have super sensitive hearing, you're picking up on the way they move.
Mhm.
He's reading body language.
Right.
So that's what that is.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah. It seemed almost pushing.
into ESP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you said this earlier, like it'd be like adding heat vision to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need it, but hey, there you go.
Yeah, and it would be weird, but yeah.
Maybe I'd read Spider-Man more. I don't know.
I don't know. So yeah. Do we have anything more to talk about that issue?
I don't.
Okay, I'm good either. Also, so we've got some Fantastic Four to talk about, and I know how much you love the Fantastic Four, Spencer.
Yeah, it's I don't.
Yeah, I know. I'm teasing. I give you a hard time. Well, let's talk about this.
Okay.
We got 3 issues in succession, which is nice, and I like when we can do that. The first one is Fantastic Four number 115, and the story is called The Secret of the Eternals. Plotted by Stan Lee, but written by Archie Goodwin.
Right. I had a question about that.
What?
Maybe explain that a little bit. What he just came up with the idea. and then
the plot is when someone plots a story, it's like here's this story. It's going to be about this, and here are a few story beats. Okay, and then the script is going to be all the dialogue and all the other things, and the details of the other stuff. So Archie Goodwin wrote all that.
Would you say this is a way for Stan to kind of keep his fingers in?
I think this was him, like, moving away from the book, because after this, Archie Goodwin wrote the other 2 issues that we got, and then without Stan plotting it, I don't think. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
And then I don't know if Archie Goodwin stayed on the book for a long time. I want to say Roy Thomas wrote it at some point, but I can't recall offhand.
Okay.
But Stan had written it for like 103 issues in succession,
right?
With Jack Kirby on art. Like, that's a huge run. And then after Jack left, Stan continued to write the book. But I think around, just for a little bit, but put it in context, I think this is like the last time he's touching it.
Okay.
115.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to touch it either.
You're bad. You touched it all week, baby.
I did.
While you're reading these books. God, that sounded bad. Oh, God. So anyway, but great art by John Buscema, who's one of my favorite comic book artists. I think he's the only guy that can follow Jack Kirby smoothly.
Okay.
He followed Jack on Thor and the FF, and I think one other book I'm blanking on. But other people have followed Kirby, and not so much.
Yeah, I have no complaints about the art in these books.
Yeah, no, Buscema's great, and you should just see him do Conan or Thor. It's terrific. Okay. But art by John Buscema and ink by Joe Sinnott, who had inked most of the run thus far and further on. He worked on the Fantastic Four quite a bit. Okay. So anyway, what's happening in this story, Spencer?
So in this the first issue of this kind of story.
And we're kind of mid arc on this story with the Overmind and the Eternals, but
so it kind of starts off with the Watcher.
Yeah.
He's contacting the Four.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, this prophecy that you've heard of is coming true, and let me give you, I can't interfere, but let me give you a background into what's coming.
Right.
And so I actually enjoyed this one because the Fantastic Four took a backseat.
Well, right. It's mainly the focus was really about the Eternals and the Overmind, not so much the FF in this story.
And I could read a book about the Eternals.
They've had a book.
Right, but
twice.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, well, more than that. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So the Eternals are kind of this barbarian.
Well, they started out as a barbarian race,
right? Yeah. And
but they're kind of immortal and outer spacey and stuff.
Yeah, they don't die from natural causes.
Right.
They can be shot or
if you blow them up, something like that.
Right. And it'd be like it's those kind of stories where if you gave a nuclear bomb to a primitive culture, they're just going to go crazy and blow everyone up. Sure. And so they didn't really evolve past barbarians and decided, hey, we're the most powerful things around us. Let's go find people to fight. So they take off, and they finally come to...
was it the planet Gigantus?
Gigantus, yeah.
Yeah, which is where the Stranger is from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him later, but yeah. And it's a huge, huge planet.
Yeah, it said this planet is the size of a galaxy.
Right.
And so the idea of going and conquering a planet of this size is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the Eternals are going to have plenty of people to fight, but they're going to be overpowered by the numbers.
Right. And so that's eventually what happens. They say, we can't do it. But, so they take off, but they also...
found a way to destroy Gigantus.
Right. And so they take off, destroy Gigantus, and they think they've...
Won.
They know they didn't win, but they're like, but we blew up the planet, so obviously...
Yeah. But the people of Gigantus, didn't they create the Overmind?
They created an armada
to
take off after
After the Eternals.
After
That's
the Eternals.
right. And then the Eternals created the Overmind
The
to
Eternal,
get
yeah.
them. Okay, yeah. That's right.
And so the Overmind has come to Earth.
And he's like 1 billion brains or something.
Yeah.
And he's powerful and stuff. I don't really like him very much.
No, he was kind of a douche.
Well, and then I feel like they've kind of had villains sort of like this that are just better.
Okay. Can you name one?
Well, didn't he kind of have control of emotions at some level and stuff?
Well, so after the Watcher tells
the story
of them, Reed is like, okay, we need to fight, but then he turns on the
rest of the Fantastic Four. Yeah,
and
it's because of the Overmind is manipulating.
Right, and since Reed is by far the smartest person, the Overmind was like, well, if I'm going to take anyone over, I'm going to take over Reed.
Right.
And on top of that, he has these amazing abilities.
Right.
But
him being able to take control or manipulate someone's mind or emotions reminded me of the Fantastic Four villain, the Psycho Man.
Okay.
And he was from either the Negative Zone or the Microverse. And he had this device that, he had 3 buttons on it. He was physically powerful, but he had this thing that was fear, doubt, and hate.
Okay.
And he would, make you intensely feel one of those emotions. And he would use that to manipulate people and then, destroy them and stuff.
So,
So it reminded me of that.
So that's how this story kind of ended.
Right.
With Reed taking off and the other 3 being like, what? The crap just happened.
Yeah, and so we gotta have a plan.
We have to get rid of the Overlord, but we also have to...
The Overmind, yeah.
Overmind. We also have to not kill Reed in the process.
Right, and save the world and junk.
Right.
So, which leads into the next issue.
Yeah.
Unless you had more to talk about there.
I really enjoyed the story of the Eternals and Gigantus. I thought it was so cool. Just as eternal, it seemed like an eternal battle.
Yeah.
Between these 2 incredible races, because when the Eternals showed up,
yeah,
the people of Gigantus were they were kind of peaceful people. They were like, their defense was the fact that their planet was so big.
Yeah,
they didn't need another planet.
Well, right. No one ever tried to conquer them because it's like, dude, there's so many people.
Right.
How are you gonna win?
And so, one thing it mentioned in the book was that when the Eternals left and they seeded the planet with the explosive that destroyed it, they didn't just leave behind the things that were going to destroy the planet. They left behind some of their culture.
Right.
Of, hey, maybe our planet isn't our best defense. Maybe it's the fact that we can just overwhelmingly just destroy you.
Yeah.
And so the people of Gigantus got this kind of well, fine, if you're going to kill us, we're going to kill you right back.
Yeah.
And created this armada and forever just followed the Eternals wherever they went.
Yeah, and so the Eternals created the Overmind.
Uh-huh.
But then the people of Gigantus kind of created their own version of that, the Stranger, who was even more powerful than the Overmind. And we'll get more into the Stranger in this next issue. And it is Fantastic Four number 116. Mm-hmm. The story is The Alien, The Ally, and Armageddon.
Okay.
Written by Archie Goodwin, with art by John Buscema, and inked by Joe Sinnott. Now, what?
Okay, so it picks up where the last one left off.
Right, the Fantastic Four get into battle with the Overmind.
Mm-hmm.
He beats them up, and they have to kind of regroup and come up with a new plan.
Right, and so Ben and Torch take off, and they're fighting him, and
Sue says, "What am I going to do?
Right,
who am I going to turn to?"
Right. So she it describes in the book that every other hero has their own thing they're dealing with at this moment.
Right, because the Overmind's attack is affecting lots of other stuff.
Right. Which, I complain a lot about modern books having crossovers and, huge events that I have to read, 15 books.
But the fact that it sort of ties in and it's not, affecting... It's affecting, but not in a, you gotta buy all these other books kind of way. I like that.
Yes, absolutely.
And Marvel had a very good way of doing that in the past, as we see here.
And...
So who does Sue turn to?
None other than
Dr. Doom.
Right. And he's sitting there all smug, he's like, oh, I know who's here.
He's chillaxing at the Latvian embassy in New York. How convenient.
Right.
But, I love the the when Sue goes to talk to Doctor Doom, he's like, yeah, like whatever, like all smug, and she's like, she plays up to his ego, like like, oh, never figured you to be a coward, or
yeah.
and he says Doom is many things, but a coward he is not, or something to that effect, and it's awesome sauce, baby.
I love it when I
will actually quote it. Okay. He says like, yeah, he's not interested in going after the Overmind, and Sue says, well, then I see I've wasted my time. The Doctor Doom I remember might be ruthless and cold, but he had honor and nobility too. Instead, I encounter posturing and pettiness, or perhaps just a man a little afraid. And then Doom says, hold, Susan Richards. Many demons rule Victor Von Doom, but not those of pettiness or fear. Very well, I am with you. Totally bitchin'. Okay, that's awesome sauce. Like, this is why he is the greatest supervillain ever.
Wow.
Those
are big words.
They are. Just trying to counter that, baby.
I don't even have time.
Take a couple minutes. Just, come on.
Okay, so, yes, he's pretty...
Hey, I'm going to say greatest, that's... there's open for debate. What I mean is, he's so multi-dimensional. He's not like the Red Skull, he's just evil.
Right. He's just a powerful Hitler.
Doom there's heroism in him.
Okay.
And he has his own code of honor that he abides by.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I just think he's great.
Okay.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go.
No, so let's...
I realize saying he's the greatest supervillain ever is very subjective. So, go ahead.
Let's round up this kind of story.
Yeah.
Doom and Susan show up, and, they make a pit stop.
Yeah, they stop at the Baxter building to pick up something that, to visit Reed's lab.
Right. And they grab a machine, and so...
Doom builds this thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's the Deus Ex Machina.
Ben and
Johnny
are just, they're getting their butts kicked.
Yeah, the Overmind is mopping the floor with them.
And then, and Sue and Doom show up, and then Reed is there, and he pretty much immediately attacks Sue. And so she's fighting him off, and Doom is fighting the Overmind, and he's using his new device, and is kind of sending the mind beams.
I think, it's kind of... I didn't quite catch what it was.
Yeah, he's using the mind beams. He's reflecting them back at the Overmind.
Right.
And it's hurting him.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that's really kind of stopped him.
Right.
And Sue eventually has to kind of start sacrificing herself in order to protect Doom with her force field.
Right.
But then that fails, and it knocks Doom down.
Yeah, and the device craps out.
Yeah.
So basically, and Doom gets beat by the Overmind. So basically, they just bought time until, the Stranger just shows up.
And so...
and he kicks the crap out of the Overmind.
Yeah, so Doom...
Yeah.
They all end up losing, and then it causes the Overmind to be all pompous and, really show off his powers.
Yeah. And that's right. That causes the Stranger to be able to find him.
Right.
And he comes and kicks the crap out.
Shows up and he's like, oh, you have a billion minds in your mind?
I have a billion minds.
I have a billion minds. And just lays him to waste.
Yeah. And that was the purpose of the Stranger, which he'd been around for a while in comics. This is now being revealed what he was about and what he was for. To destroy the Overmind.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah, he sends him he transports him to a barren planet that ends up being just like a piece of dust.
Right, he shrinks him down to atomic size.
And so he says you can rule this wasteland.
Yeah.
And that's worse than anything else. Almost anything else. And so then they all feel better and move on. But Doom, in classic him, just says, next time I see you, it will not be on these same terms. It will be on my terms.
Of course.
And
that's Doom. That's Dr. Doom for you,
man. And it will not be as allies, is what he says.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
excellent. And so then the Watcher shows up again. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you lost on purpose, but in losing, you won the war."
Right, but Johnny wasn't around for that. He took off in a huff. He was all mad.
He's all butthurt.
Yeah, as he gets.
Yeah.
My least favorite member of the Fantastic Four.
Really?
Johnny, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You liked that issue, I could tell.
It was fun.
Yeah. So.
Fantastic Four.
Huh?
Fantastic Four.
Oh, man. So the next issue we have to talk about, it's Fantastic Four number 117, and the story is called The Flame and the Quest.
Right.
Written by Archie Goodwin, with art by John Buscema and Joe Sinnott. Hey, we're seeing a pattern here. So,
like we said,
Johnny had bailed at the end of that issue.
Yep.
And he's kind of the central focus of this issue.
Yeah, he takes off after an old girlfriend.
Yeah, Crystal of the Inhumans.
Right.
Well, you don't know yet. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes off and wants to find her, but apparently she's not.
With the Inhumans, yeah.
Right.
And Maximus the Mad has taken over the Great Refuge again, which is like, that's a big problem.
Right. And so he's like, well, I need to find Crystal so we can deal with this.
Right.
And get Black Bolt back in charge.
Yes.
And so he takes off and flashing sideways in time. The rest of the team is at Agatha Harkness's place.
Yeah.
Hanging out because they just saved the world.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
If you're gonna save the world.
Yeah. Agatha Harkness, for you don't know, is Franklin's governess.
Right.
And Franklin's got these like amazeballs powers, but he's a little kid. Mm-hmm. And so Agatha is a witch, and her being the governess kind of helps keep that stuff in check.
Okay, so kind of a pause here. What ends up happening with Franklin?
More stuff later.
Does he grow up? Does he?
Well, in current comics, he's still a kid because the sliding time scale, they like kind of just keep stuff, you know. But Franklin has like serious powers, and it's a result of the cosmic rays bombardment on Reed and Sue, his parents,
and not cancer, which would usually happen.
Yeah. Well, it was sad though because when Sue got pregnant for the second time, the baby didn't live.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so flashing back here.
Yeah.
To the book.
The crystal has been captured by and is being used as a pawn by Diablo.
Right, but it's all Johnny's fault. So her and Lockjaw.
Yeah, Lockjaw, the teleporting dog.
Yeah. Are about to teleport, and Johnny's like, no, and he flames on, and
that screws up the teleportation.
Yeah.
So she goes to this other dimension where Diablo had been exiled to by Dr. Doom.
Right.
Way back in Marvel Superheroes number 20.
And so Diablo uses a potion to hypnotize her.
Yeah, his whole deal is alchemy, so all he does is create potions and stuff.
Right. And so he gets out of that dimension.
Right.
And goes and
to some South American country that's a made-up one.
Right.
And tries to like overthrow like a despot there, but so he can seize power.
Right. Did I write down the name? I did.
It's made up. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So there's a tyrant that's kind of taken over, but like it'd be trading one tyrant for another.
Yeah.
You know. But
Diablo plays up to these peasants like, look, this is the goddess Ixchel or something like that,
right?
Which is kind of an anagram of crystal, if you look at it, kind of.
Yeah.
And anyway, because she controls elements and it's perfect, and so he gets the peasants to uprise against the dictator.
Right.
And Diablo is gonna, try and take over.
Yeah, but then the dictator has jets.
Yeah.
And they have farming tools.
Yeah.
And so
could be a problem.
Yeah, they bomb the crap out of the peasants, and Johnny's flying over. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to take Reed's advice and not get involved."
Like, yeah, that's what a superhero does. Not get involved. Lets people be blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no big deal. It's cool.
And that's where we leave off.
Right, it ends on a cliffhanger, so we kind of don't get a resolution there.
Right.
What do you think of that issue, though?
Yeah, I mean...
I know, it's... Yeah.
So, Ben is my least favorite of my least favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's just dumb.
Oh.
He's afraid of a cat.
He's really superstitious. I don't know. Ben is like the muscle and the comedy relief in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and I feel like you should choose one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If you read like a lot of like especially like 20, 30 issues into the Lee and Kirby run, it's so awesome. Not even that far, but like a couple dozen issues in, and it's so funny and kick-ass and cosmic and awesome sauce. I don't know. It just after that magic creative period, it's just kind of like, well, there's good stuff, but it's kind of gets diluted and watered down. So I don't know. That was the only story in that issue, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would like to take a minute.
Oh yeah.
I've been loving reading these because I get to read all the ridiculous ads.
Oh, please. I mean, Jeff and I always talk about house ads or like advertisements for, selling stuff. Please do take a...
The Get Taller ones.
You got to describe it more because this is not a visual show.
Right. So, I mean, just pills. They're just, hey, take these pills.
Yeah.
And you'll get taller, or you'll get skinny, or you'll gain weight in all the right places.
Yeah.
Like, it's just free, powerful muscle fast.
Yeah.
Oh, free, powerful muscles fast, and it's this guy flexing. And
Yeah.
There's another one like it where, like, after 30 days, I looked like this, and it definitely couldn't have been 30 days.
Right.
But I took these pills.
Yeah.
Shove pills in your mouth,
Right.
They're just great. Yeah, I enjoy them.
Yeah. That's one of the more fun things about reading old comics is, I don't know, that's just part of the scenery. It's really good.
Or the advertisements for, like, Lee jeans that are actual, like, comics.
Yeah, I like when they use comics that are advertisements, but the comics themselves are usually really, like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know it's some commercial artist that's never worked in comic books,
Yeah.
like, clearly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So the next book we've got to talk about is House of Mystery number 233, and you don't know, it's an anthology horror comic.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the lead story is called Cake.
Yeah.
Written by Michael Fleischer, who wrote like the best Spectre stories ever. And
I have some.
Yeah. Oh, that limited series.
Yeah.
I don't think he wrote that.
No.
I don't know. Pull it out. I don't know.
Okay.
But I was thinking of like the stuff in like the 70s or the late 60s.
Okay. I'll have to check again.
Anyway, art by Frank Robbins, and I love the art in this story. Frank Robbins can draw some pretty girls. It's good stuff. So let's talk about this.
So yeah, Kane introduces the story Cake.
Yeah, Kane is the horror host.
Right.
His brother Abel hosts House of Mystery.
Oh.
Or House of Secrets.
Oh, okay.
Kane and Abel.
Yeah.
See where we're going there?
So it kind of starts off in like some kind of like salesman convention thing, and
right.
It's all men, and they're kind of pervy, and they want a girl to pop out of a cake, and so that's what they get.
Yeah.
And she does her little thing.
And she's a lovely girl, and seems really sweet, actually, as we see her throughout the story.
Or, dancer.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm sure there's nice dancers.
Sure. So, anyway.
But
her boyfriend is this kind of jerk who works at the hotel also.
Yeah, he's a busboy or like a waiter or something. And he keeps coming up with these plans to like get rich by stealing, and it doesn't seem like it's working out very well because she's still dancing and he's still
and she doesn't really want to go along with it. She loves the guy.
Yeah.
So, but she's kind of like, I don't know about this, and and she just doesn't want to do it. She's good at heart.
Yeah, he has a new plan to steal this old lady's jewels.
Yeah, and the old lady lives in the hotel.
Yeah, and she goes to dinner at 8 o'clock every night.
Sure.
And so he's kind of made a plan.
He stole a copy of her room key. He's going to
Right.
go in, steal her jewels,
and it should be quick and easy.
Right. But she gets all down to the hotel lobby.
It's raining.
Yeah,
she
and
sees a friend.
so she had just left, but she forgot her umbrella. She goes back up and catches a guy stealing, and he kills her.
Yeah.
And then the friend's like, "Whoa, what happened?" And so
Yeah.
they go up, and the hotel detective finds the old lady dead right away.
Right. And so
yeah.
he's like, let's just go back to work. We'll act like nothing happened. But they find his pin.
His hotel whatever pin that the old lady had pulled off by mistake.
Yeah.
And so
the detectives are looking for him, and he's like, get in the cake, and we'll go with our, go on with our work.
Right. Well, she she was going to jump out of a cake that night anyway.
Yeah. And so the cops find him, and he takes off, and they shoot him, like good cops do. Portland
Right.
cops, at least.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But then her cake kind of gets mixed up with another cake.
Right. And these cake people there are there to demonstrate this new cake slicing thing.
Right.
And it slices like all the slices at once. And so the cake that she's supposed to jump out of gets cut up. And so this girl, who didn't really do anything,
right,
gets like horribly killed.
Right. And that's why you don't steal.
Yeah. So I think that the story was kind of weird in that. Yeah.
I thought it was great.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, I always yay comic, but it bothered me.
It was really.
If the boyfriend had ducked into the cake, like to hide from the police, that I would have been okay with.
Yeah.
And then the girl gets to move on with her life.
Okay.
I don't know. So I don't know, but whatever. So let's talk about the next story, unless you wanted to talk about that more.
No, I enjoyed it though. Let's see. Oh.
Yeah, the next story is called "It's Hell."
Right.
Written by John Albano, with art by Ruben Sosa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, old married couple.
Yeah.
The guy is fed up, and it's not even for good reason. He's fed up because she's so great.
Yeah, she's just sweet and they never have a fight, and he's just bored.
Right.
And he's like, screw this, I want her dead. Because it's driving me nuts.
And so he goes to this sorcerer guy who talks to demons.
Right.
And the guy's like...
Because this happens every day.
Right.
You just go to the local sorcerer. Look, can you make my wife die? Can you get some demons to kill my wife? Awesome.
And so the guy's like, why do you want her dead? And he's like, you won't even understand. And it's an awful... she's so good to you.
Right.
He wants her gone.
Yeah.
And so he gets home, and she's just great again.
Yeah.
And he's like, ugh. And so they go to bed, and at midnight, the demons come, and they throw her out the window.
Right.
And so he sits down, he calls the cops and says, hey, I just had my wife murdered.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And so they come, and they say, oh, we captured him. And they're like, you have to tell us why. And he's like, never once did we have a fight. Never once did she even burn the toast. Never once, these
And he's like, I don't want to die and go to heaven and be stuck with her or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So he does this evil thing, so he'll go to hell.
Yeah. He'd rather go to hell than spend eternity with her.
Yeah, and so, but then they find an old note or evidence diary that she had poisoned her previous husband to death. So she's in hell, and he's gonna go to hell for having her killed.
Right.
Wah-pa-pa-li-dow.
Silly and hilarious. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was ridiculous, but pretty fun.
Also, a little thing. The lettering is different than in most comics.
How so?
It doesn't look the same.
Well, I mean, there are different letterers.
I know, but I really liked it for some reason.
Can I look at it? Show me an example of what you mean.
So, here's the lettering.
Okay.
And then if you even fall back a few pages into the last story, the lettering is different.
Yeah, no, I do see a difference.
It's a little thinner, it's a little more streamlined, and I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a good lettering. Yeah, I don't. They don't always credit letterers. Unfortunately, Marvel would do it.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know why I need to know that Art Simic lettered something,
Right.
but but they don't even credit colorists, and I think that they do more.
Mhm.
But whatever. So, yeah, did you have more to talk about that one?
I didn't. I mean, these were just fun comics. This
Yeah.
was a fun comic to read.
It's about a girl getting cut up
And
in a cake.
old man going to hell with his wife.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Okay, so the next book, this is cool. This is like a double-sized comic. It's Marvel Superheroes number 23, and the lead story is a reprint from X-Men number 4, and it's The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, written by Stan Lee, with art by Jack Kirby, and inked by Paul Reinman. And I'll just let you take the wheel on this.
Right. So the X-Men are kind of like in a training simulation.
Right. In the danger room, baby.
Yeah. Practicing up and getting ready for the evil they will have to face. But at the same time, is a meeting of evil mutants.
Right.
This is what they're calling it.
And this is the first time we get to see the Toad and Mastermind and the Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Magneto comes in, and you're like, oh, obviously.
He's the leader.
And he's coming up with this plan for domination.
Yeah, they're going to take over a country.
And from there, kind of like...
That's going to be their beachhead. Yeah.
They're going to try to sweep through.
Yeah.
And so Angel is out flying.
Yeah.
Just taking a routine...
Fly.
A fly.
Going for a fly.
And he spots this kind of abandoned ship.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And then flies back and he tells Dr. X. And
Professor X.
Professor X.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. He tells him, and the Professor's like, well, he kind of sends out his feelers, and he's like, there's something fishy about that.
He's like, I think Professor X says, I wasn't aware of any military, maneuvers today. It's like, how would you just know about all of that?
He's in the DoD talks every morning.
Yeah.
Briefings with the president.
So I thought that was kind of weird, but.
Yeah. And so moves along, and kind of there's a little infighting in between the evil mutants.
What I thought was interesting, how Magneto took control of the ship, and he just controlled every little aspect of all the dials and everything just through his magnetic power. Now, I get that he would be able to do that based just on manipulating his abilities, but he would have to have memorized every instrument panel, how every doodad worked to make that happen.
Right.
Does he really have all the knowledge of that?
Right. It would have been easier to pickpocket the keys.
Yeah.
Do ships frigates have keys?
Sure. I don't know. Or do they just have a button that pushes? I don't know.
They
gotta have
showing
stuff.
off. Like,
yes.
Look what I can do. I'm Magneto.
Yeah.
So he takes off, and Professor X is reading a paper, and on the front it says, "Tiny Republic of San Marco, shelled by mystery naval craft." And so sends him on alert. The X-Men get all together, and they're like, well, we need to take off and figure this out.
Yeah.
So they take off down to San Marco. And there's this cool little, interaction between Professor X and Magneto.
Yeah, they're on the psychic plane.
Yeah.
They're talking mentally. And it's weird. I remember reading some of these early issues, and it's like, you're saying Magneto has a little bit of psychic power.
Yeah.
But why? Huh? I've read stuff where he has a little bit of that, and I get that Professor X could talk to anybody in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody with a brain, he can just go in there and talk to you.
Right.
But
so not Sean.
Why not Sean?
Talk to Sean.
Why couldn't he talk to Sean?
Because he need a brain.
Oh yeah, Sean's here. Sean's smart. Shut up. Sean's a college grad, baby.
I got thinking.
Yeah. So But I don't see the need for them to say like, oh, Magneto has a little bit of mental power too,
Right.
because Professor X could just talk to you in your brain no matter what.
Right.
But they kind of they kind of talk. They have a meeting of the minds, literally. And Magneto's like, hey, I took over this country. Well, and Professor X is like, well, we're gonna come over there, and they do.
Yeah. And so, okay, Magneto is kind of a douche.
Really?
And he's so, like, he's embittered because of his experiences as a mutant.
Yeah.
As what I think we'll later find out as a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the first chance he gets, he goes all Hitler on San Marco.
Right. I mean, is he like exterminating human beings in ovens? No. He just took over a country. He conquered.
No, but,
he's more like a Stalin.
Okay.
So, arguably, he could be a little worse.
Right. I mean, Stalin killed more people, but Hitler, the final solution was like, well, hey, let's do all these like really awful things. Let's like take skin and make it into lampshades and stuff pillows with Jew hair and, you know, like awful stuff.
Right.
It's like the quality versus quantity argument.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
the quality would be the specific type of person.
Right.
Okay.
Jews and handicapped.
Gypsies, Polacks, commies.
Black people.
Yeah.
Homosexuals.
Everyone who didn't.
I don't think there were too many black folks in Europe at
If
that
there
time.
were, though, they're on the list.
Sure. But you just don't hear about it, like...
Right, yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So he has all his, like, secret police taking over the, like, cities and stuff.
I think it's funny. Who are these humans that are basically black shirts for Magneto?
Right.
You know, like...
So
they're people who don't want to die. That's what they are. Do you think Magneto would, like, kill people, like crushing their throats like Darth Vader? Do you think he could do that? Like, manipulate the iron in their blood and just, like, do the trach squish?
He did that in that movie.
Yeah, the guy had too much iron in his blood, so he made a disc.
Yeah, he pulls all the iron out of the guy's body.
Which X-Men movie was that?
The second one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because he's stuck in that plastic bubble.
Right!
Yeah.
Okay, right.
And so he pulls all the...
uses the iron pellets, he, like, turns the iron into pellets, destroys the room around him, and then creates, like, this, like, iron pad that he can walk on.
Right.
Yeah, it floats him over to...
So, yeah, he could.
Okay. Is Magneto Darth Vader?
he's got an awesome helmet.
To the next one.
Yeah. I do love the helmet.
He uses...
The helmet sells Magneto, like...
He uses, what's his name?
He's one of the evil mutants?
Yeah.
What's the power?
The illusionist.
Oh, that's, Mastermind.
Mastermind. He uses an illusion to make people think, oh, there's this giant army moving in.
Right.
But through their fear, they're like, okay, let's join up.
Yeah.
And so he creates an actual army.
Yeah.
Of...
That's pretty clever. You know, and the X-Men are fooled by Mastermind's illusions because this is the first time they've met him.
Right. Yeah. What do they think he...
He, like, creates monsters and crap. And,
right,
like,
yeah.
And the Beast is, like, scaling a wall, I think, and then he makes it look like... I think it turned to glass, and so he, like, slips off.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. So the X-Men show up,
mm-hmm.
and they each kind of, like... They each kind of lose their specific battles with each other,
right?
With the evil mutants.
Yeah.
And then Cyclops shows up and
mm-hmm.
just blasts everything, and
panics
and blasts some more, and then hits a generator of some sort.
Yeah.
And causes like a destruction. And
wasn't there like an atom? Didn't Magneto have an atomic bomb like set to like nuke San Marcos that they lost or something?
So, yes. So they had a booby trap door.
Yeah. That
would kill the X-Men when they came through.
Right.
But also he was gonna blow up San Marco. So he had two backup plans.
Right.
And I mean it's pretty.
So he did like the psychopath, like
he had redundancy,
ex-girlfriend thing where if I can't have you, no one can.
Exactly.
Oh wow, okay, I see where you're going.
Yeah. Which, I
I
mean,
like it.
Yeah.
supervillain, totally.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
they all go through the door,
Yeah.
and the explosion that happens knocks the ability out of Professor X. So he's down for the count.
Right.
I mean, he'll probably regain his ability, obviously.
Yeah.
But for right now, him and his teenage cohorts
Yeah.
are stranded.
On an island that's about to get nuked.
Right. And Magneto gets away.
Right. Which is interesting. You know, Marvel Comics had a lot of times the villain gets away.
Right.
And that was so different than Lex Luthor's giant robot gets destroyed and he goes off to jail again.
Right. Okay.
You know.
So I have a little issue.
Okay.
X-Men isn't my favorite book.
It's not one of mine, but I love the Kirby stuff. I love
Yeah. So these are teenagers.
Yeah. Yes.
It seems like he's putting them into harm's way, and that should be illegal.
Yeah.
But they're mutants, so it doesn't matter. Is that
Well,
what we're saying?
They're at his school for, I'm using air quotes, gifted youngsters.
Right.
And they're learning to use their abilities, but I think the part of the thing is, whatever. No one's coercing them, but he's kind of teaching them that this is like, you should do this.
Right.
So,
Right, I'll go.
what you're saying has some weight to it.
Right. I would be concerned.
I'm a concerned parent. Where's the X-Men PTA meeting?
Yeah.
That's
Ralph
what
Nader.
That's funny.
I win.
You do. I think you do.
It seems dangerous.
Yeah.
And if I were a parent, I would be concerned that my already kind of strange kid
Yeah.
is getting put in harm's way.
I mean, some of the X-Men are kind of orphans, or
Right.
I don't think we ever saw Hank's parents, and Scott's folks were kidnapped by this Shi'ar, so, yeah. And his mother was murdered.
Right.
So, yeah. So, I can't remember if Warren's parents are still alive or not, the Angel. And then Jean and Bobby both have parents, so that put them in school. So, yeah, there's validity. There's validity.
Yeah. So a stranger is putting your children in harm's way. That's exactly what you
I mean, the shorter answer is, look, it's a comic book, and having a teenage group of superheroes. Spider-Man worked as a teenage superhero.
Right.
When they were breaking the type, because the kid's always got to be the sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
If one teenage superhero works, why not a whole team of teenagers? And that's what they're thinking. So,
okay.
But see, this is different because it's not an individual's choice to fight supervillainy or crime. This is kind of a larger group thing,
right? Group thing.
And an adult is not group think. Well, maybe, but an adult is saying, "Hey, let's do this." That's different. So you got a point.
Yeah.
So do we want to move on? Are we good?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
That was my.
So the next story we have in this book, this is
short
neat.
and sweet.
Yeah, it is short. It's Tales of the Watcher, and this story is Melvin and the Martian, which, bad title.
Right.
But written by Stan Lee and beautiful art by Tom Palmer. Every panel of this is just like, I could just stare at this. It's gorgeous. I wish I could remember what I know Tom Palmer really for, but really great stuff. Please go ahead.
So Melvin is a
gambler.
Man.
He's a gambler. He doesn't look anything like Kenny Rogers, though.
I was going to say, is he have any relation to Kenny Rogers?
Yeah.
You gambler.
You got to know when to hold 'em.
He is a cheater.
Know when to fold 'em. Hold on. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. You never count the money. When you say, okay, I'm not going to do it. So, I'm not going to do it anymore.
He's a cheater. He gets caught. And he takes off into the woods. And kind of stumbles upon a flying saucer.
Of course.
With an alien popping out of it.
Popping, yo. Alien looks cool.
Yeah, kind of lizardish.
With an almost exposed brain look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of froggy looking. Yeah.
And so, like any other human being, he approaches the alien.
Right?
In friendship.
Yeah. And he's like, "Whoa, bro, what are you doing?" And as he goes to kind of shake his hand,
What it is.
the cards he was cheating with fall out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you're a gambler." He's like, "Yeah, I'm the best there ever is. I can teach you how to never lose."
The alien says this.
The alien, yeah, I can teach you how to never lose at gambling. On my planet, we've figured it out.
You're right.
And he's like,
Play this game.
"Oh, okay." He's like, "But you have to help me find the treasure that I'm seeking." And he's like, "Totally." And so he's like, "Come on board." And so he climbs on board and he's like, "Drink this." And
He wakes up 3 days later in a bath full of ice. Kidneys gone.
he drinks this kind of potion.
They traveled 20 million miles for kidneys.
Yep. Seems about as plausible as teaching some guy some gambling tricks.
Right? I'm so glad you're here to chime in on this stuff, Sean. Seriously, do it
I
more.
haven't read any of this.
I know, and your outside perspective is classic.
A foul-tasting potion with somewhat startling results. He immediately can feel and know what dice are going to be rolled.
Yeah.
What else? What horse will win next
Right.
race? And,
All
this
that
stuff.
jazz.
And he's like, "Hey, yes." And he's like, "Now, what was the treasure you were seeking?" And he's like, "Oh, by coming aboard, you've helped me find it." And he's like, "What?" And he's stuck in a bowl, like a fish bowl.
Yeah, it's labeled Earthman, and it's
Yeah.
like,
I was
oh,
kind of right.
yeah,
A little
Yeah.
bit more than kidneys.
yeah. He's got kidneys and all, and everything else. So yeah, that's kind of what happened there.
And then the Watchman chimes in with, "And
Yeah, the
as
Watcher.
the Martian sun sinks in the distance, we bid a fond farewell to Melvin, a man who lost out on the biggest gamble of his life."
Oh man,
Yes.
man. So the next story we have, and it's the last story in this issue, is it's reprinted from Daredevil #3, and the story is The Owl, Ominous Overlord of Crime.
Yep.
Written by Stan Lee, with art by Joe Orlando and Vince Colletta. Now, Joe Orlando would go on to be an editor at DC Comics.
Okay.
And he would, especially of books such as House of Mystery and House of Secrets.
Oh.
And in the 50s, he was an artist at EC Comics, the folks that did Tales from the Crypt,
Right.
Vault of Horror, Weird Science, stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Cool. A movie-length action thriller.
Is that really what it says?
Yeah.
Okay.
Presented with pride by the mighty Marvel Comics.
I like that. It's not actually movie length. We're not going to go for 90 minutes about this issue. Thank God. No, but it's a cool issue.
Yeah. So
This is the introductory story of the Owl, who was, in the Silver Age, a major, and onward, but especially the Silver Age, a major adversary for Daredevil.
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it starts off with the owl in his office.
And everyone just calls him the Owl.
Right.
It's not like he even has a first name.
And it says within the story that his name is lost with time.
But that's not true. Later, it's something Owlsley,
Oh, wow.
not Heidi Owlsley.
Oh.
That was a professor of ours at college.
Or Mr. Owsley? Or Mr. Owsley?
No.
That's what? Librarian?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the owl's in his office, and he basically, I think he fires a guy,
Yeah.
right? And the guy has all this evidence
Mm-hmm.
that proves that the owl is this actual criminal.
Right, and he'd been able to keep his nose clean while he
Right.
was racketeering and junk.
Yeah. But this guy has all this evidence, and he ends up, I think, it doesn't really say whether or not he kills himself or if he just gets hit by a car,
Right,
like a convenient car.
right. The convenience mobile.
Right. But he dies, and the police find all this evidence, and so they're like, "We got you, Owl. You're coming with us."
Right.
And so the Owl's just like, "Pff, okay. I won't even hire a big shot lawyer. I'll find someone in the classifieds, and he just so happens to pick Nelson and Murdoch.
Right.
In terms of law.
And when he meets Matt Murdock, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. What did you want to say about that?
I was just gonna let you go.
Oh, okay. He meets him, and like kind of right off the bat, Murdoch's like, "This guy's shady." You know, like,
yeah.
I don't really want to do business with him.
He's like, I have powers, and I know he's a bad guy.
Right.
Because he can tell by the intonation of his voice, he can kind of feel the way his feet fall and how he carries himself, that he's shady.
So this is kind of where I was getting that, like...
He's not reading his mind.
More, yeah, so...
all his other sensories are feeding in this kind of, like, impression of, like, this guy is scummy.
Right. So it says... Turning slowly, Matt Murdock involuntarily recoils in shock as an aura of unmistakable villainy seems to surround his razor-sharp senses.
No, not literally an aura. He's really... No. Like. Okay?
Okay.
But it's...
Right.
The sense he's... All the information he is getting fed from his super sharp senses is saying, this guy, bad juju. Plus, when the owl talks... Matt can tell when he's lying because of the heartbeat thing.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. And so.
So buttons. Okay.
Right. So Matt continues with the show. But Karen Page.
Yeah. The love of Matt's life.
Right. She's kind of like, I have these feelings for him. But I don't think they're reciprocated.
Right.
And it's basically because Matt has to hide his secret identity.
Right. And this is the third appearance of Daredevil, okay? So
right.
That's that context. It's so early in the story. The saga.
So one thing. None of his villains know he's blind.
Yeah, I love that.
None. It's...
I love, like, he's fought, like, the chameleon, and, like, chameleons, like, disguises don't work. And he doesn't know that they don't work on Daredevil.
Right.
Because he's like, well, I know who you are. I can tell your heartbeat's different than other people's. So you're the chameleon. Like, duh.
Again.
Like, but nobody knows that.
Uh-huh.
But Matt. And so it's like, I think it's the greatest thing. It's like, it's really fun to, like, have a secret and, like, nobody else knows about it.
Uh-huh.
Like, you have this, like, ha-ha, like, joke that you're carrying around and nobody else knows. Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun. Yeah, it's got to be the most fun thing about being Daredevil. Like, there are things about him being blind that are actually advantageous, that give him a leg up over certain villains.
Right.
And they have no clue he's a blind guy.
Yeah.
No clue.
He uses a walking stick, but they don't...
Well, it's the when he's Daredevil, he's got the Billy Club.
Right.
You know, but yeah.
So, back to the story. He comes up with a new idea for his costume.
I don't like this.
He carries around like suit and tie and shoes
in this little backpack thing that he's so
pouch on his back. That he's super proud of it. He's like, I have a new idea.
Thank God this didn't last very long.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So he goes and he confronts the owl. Oh no, the owl is in his
lair or owl house or whatever.
Eyrie.
His eyrie, right,
yeah.
Right. And it's shaped like an owl.
Yeah. But from the river, it looks like random rocks.
Yeah, like crap. But then the owl is like got all the trappings of like a 1930s movie serial villain. He's got like trap doors and all this stuff.
And so his suit...
and stairs that go from being stairs to like slide down and like flat. You know?
Right, yeah.
Like.
So he in this kind of like break between.
Oh, the owl hires these two henchmen, which are kind of.
One's a really good with guns.
Yeah, what's he called?
Sad Sam.
Yeah,
is the.
And the other guy's like the gorilla or something.
He fights a gorilla, and his name is.
Ape. Calls him Ape.
Yeah, his name's Ape.
What do you call him? Bill.
Bill.
So the owl pulls a gun on Sad Sam.
Yeah.
Sad Sam shoots the gun, and it's wax bullets. And
Yeah. Like that's a thing?
Yeah, he impresses the owl, and then Ape jumps into a cage with a gorilla and wrestles a gorilla.
Yeah.
Which is bullcrap.
Right.
Gorillas are a terrifying creature.
Yeah.
But then, to teach them a lesson, the owl's like, alright, you're on my team. But then, like, pulls a lever and the floor falls out from the room.
And you're like, you want to keep working for this guy?
Yeah. And then he jumps off the, like, roof.
Yeah, and he's kind of, like, built, like, a kind of into his cloak, like a way to kind of glide.
Yeah.
And later he would actually develop this formula that allowed him to kind of fly and float.
Okay.
And then he would also even employ, like, these, like, set of steel claws. So he'd fly around and, like, slash with, like... they look kind of like Wolverine's claws, but it's, like, a thing you hold on to. Because that is a real weapon.
Right.
I think you print PA.
So he's using... Like, he says, thank goodness the air currents will slow you down as you're falling. So I can glide down.
And the owl's a bit portly.
Yeah.
This cape doesn't look that big either.
No.
Yeah, so, like, I think him developing the thing that, like, just made him fly.
Right.
The thing that made more sense.
Yeah.
Even though drinking a potion that makes you fly is kind of ridiculous. Or float or whatever.
So the owl and his two lackeys go and they want to meet up with Murdoch, I think. And they get into a scuffle with the Daredevil.
The Daredevil? Yeah. With Daredevil, okay.
And the owl grabs Karen and is going to hurt her?
Right.
Take her, and that kind of sends Daredevil off. And he ends up saving the day. Oh no, they get captured, put in cages, and then he uses his senses to figure out the size of the room.
Yeah.
He breaks out because they used his billy club as the restraints. It has a concealed hinge.
Right.
He escapes. He breaks them both out.
Yeah.
They escape. Cops show up. The owl had made calls to the like big names in crime and said, "I'm the new crime overlord here."
Man, he is so stuck on himself. He's so he's such a dick, but he's so I'm great and I'm evil. Like so confident, and he's just creepy.
Yeah.
Not creepy, scary, but what a creep.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. But so the Daredevil goes after the owl. The owl seems to be escaping in a boat. The boat tips, and we don't know what happens to the owl.
Right.
Daredevil shows up on the docks, changes his clothes.
Yeah.
Matt Murdock comes to save Karen. Karen starts to realize, hey, I feel for Matt, but it also feels like someone else I know than Daredevil.
Right.
So she's kind of starting to put pieces together.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. So, yeah.
And that's that. Daredevil was great.
And Daredevil was awesome. One more book for today.
Yeah.
And this is from Gold Key Comics. It's Star Trek, number 11. Now, normally we don't do a lot of licensed property books on the show,
Right.
but I think this is worthy of our attention because it's Star Trek, the original series, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's well written, and the art is good. The likenesses are, for the most part, pretty excellent.
Bones is spot on.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about it. It's Star Trek number 11. It's The Brain Shockers, written by Len Wein, creator of Swamp Thing,
Right.
and Wolverine,
Yeah.
among other characters, and great comic book writer, and with art by Angelo R. Todaro and Alberto Giolitti. So I don't know those guys from Adam, but Len Wein, yay!
But I mean, they did a great job.
Yeah, and the really, really excellent work on the likenesses, especially for Kirk and Bones and Spock, who, are the central figures.
Right.
Scotty is like a blonde guy that doesn't look like anybody.
Right.
I don't think... Is Uhura even in this?
They mentioned her, but I don't think so. They said they talked at her, but I don't think she was in...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Bones, Kirk, Spock, and Scotty are like the big four, and they're generally the central figures of the show.
Right.
And then, but kind of less so with Scotty. So the more supporting role you have, the less they're gonna focus on. So anyway,
so Bones pops up to the bridge, and says, "Hey, you guys need to take a break. We haven't been on leave for months.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna start, crapping out on us."
Word.
Oh, you said word. I think it said or. And I was like,
no, good.
And so at the same time, Pandora Trask comes up and she asks for a signature from Kirk.
Yeah, she's a yeoman on the ship. Yeah.
To get more supplies for something.
It's a requisition form.
Yeah. So he signs it nonchalantly, just passing it off as anything. And she goes downstairs and she opens a door that clearly says, "Caution, do not open, off limits." And she's like, "Well, I've never seen that. I should open it up." And at the same time, they're being attacked by a planet. Oh no, they got attacked by a planet, like someone on the planet.
Right.
Shot at them and
right.
rocked them, and she hit her head, and then she sees this door. She's like, "I've never seen that before. Let's open it up," which is obviously a good plan. And then Kirk realizes, "Hey, we need to figure out if anyone's hurt." Spock does the search. There's one person. It's Trask. I just sent her down there. I hope she's okay. So Kirk and Spock go down, or Kirk goes down, finds her, and he realizes, she's open room 101. This isn't good news. And so Spock explains that when they were being taught about logic on Vulcan, they found a way to mechanically remove emotion, and they would store it.
Yeah.
But they realized it removes the spark known as the soul, and we don't really like that.
So this isn't canon, by the way.
Right.
But
it seems very much...
it could be canon.
Yeah. It's very much a classic Star Trek story.
Yeah.
So they send an away team down to the planet to figure out what shot them, and so part 2 continues with them on the planet, but like they get in a fight, and all these emotions are like welling up, and was it Kirk and no, it was Spock and Kirk and Bones. Kirk and Bones get in a fight.
Yeah.
And like, "You've deserved this for a long time."
Whammo.
Yeah. And the Force Kelly kind of looks like he got a little hurt.
Yeah.
It's never good news.
Right.
And so they realize that, or Spock starts to realize that maybe it's more than just what's going on the planet. Maybe it was what was released from Room 101 that's also affecting him. And so he goes into this awesome, like, Spock mind rage thing.
Yeah. And this whole page is like a splash of him like going through like all this stuff, and it's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the last line, "I am Spock and I am Vulcan."
Yeah.
Like,
I am Spartacus.
Yeah. So they figure they find where the blast came from, and it's Moloch, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He's tied into this giant machine, and
it's weird, science fiction-y.
They
it totally feels like, haven't I seen this episode of Star Trek? But it's good.
Spock wins, but his friends are hurt. They're okay because it's Kirk and Bones and Scotty, and they're not going to die.
Right.
You know.
No one died.
No. They make it back up, and Bones has his classic blame Spock for everything moment.
Right, like,
and,
You green-blooded Vulcan.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So yeah.
Just a great Star Trek story.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. So that was all of our books this week. But did you have anything else that you wanted to say, talk about?
I don't have anything else, unless you have something else.
Not really. Then it's time for me to awkwardly sign off, as I do like all the time, like bye. And we'll have another. You and I will record another episode in another week or so.
Or so, yeah.
Yes. So tune in. We're gonna have like practically double the content for Comic Reflections now.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, bye.